Hey, how's it going? Coach D here from All Out Athletes. And we're here with our last podcast for the Last Dance Baseball Tournament. And with me is Coach Dennis McCaffrey from Cranford High School. Now, Coach, you averaged 20 wins a season, and you've won some Group 3 finals, right? And this year that didn't happen. So I don't know what's going on over there. But what would this be considered? You know, you won the Last Dance Tournament. So, you know, you're not a Group 3 champion. I don't know how it's going to read on the banner.
Well, we definitely have a banner being made, and it's a special win. It's a special championship, and it's something that the kids work really hard for. They're very happy about it. The kids, are still really on a great run here. The town really is very excited about it, and it's been quite a run, and we're all very happy that we were able to be fortunate enough to win it.
So, is there like an asterisk next to this in a good way or a bad way, or what way? Because this is a totally different tournament, obviously, than what you normally go through.
There's no asterisk next to any championship you ever win. So, any championship we're fortunate enough to win, we're going to be very happy about. We're not going to put any asterisk. I know that the kids put in a lot of time, a lot of hard work, and there's a lot that goes into any game that we win, any championship we're able to win over the year. Obviously, when you put 228 teams into one tournament and you're the last team standing, it's a very unique, it's a very good feeling, and we're still very, very happy that we were able to come out on top and win the whole thing.
You know, when I ask questions like that to any coach in the tournament, you guys come back with honest, great answers, and that's a good answer because everybody was in the same boat, right? No matter how you look at it, everybody had the same practice time. Everybody had the same time with their coaches, and some teams waited for their coach to practice, but they had the opportunity to. So,
sure.
As you're saying, any championship is a great championship. And especially this one might be, would you say this is more special, less special, or you don't want to compare them?
Well, again, they're all special, and it's a great place to coach in Cranford. But I'm well aware of the path that we had to take to get to the finals and to actually win it. When you have to go through Union, you have to go through Montclair, then Ridgewood, then Don Bosco, then Bergen Catholic, then Jackson. That is a very, very tall hill to climb. That's a very difficult path to have to get through. And I think the kids are very happy that we're able to do it. I think that the community is very happy, and I know the coaching staff, we're all very, very happy that we're able to do it. And I would say we definitely had the most difficult path to get to the finals and to actually win it than any other team in the tournament.
So I asked Murphy, Kroger, and Chapman that if we're still in the same situation next year, what's going to happen? And all three of them said, well, we're probably going to do this tournament again. So I had asked you that question, and you didn't want to answer because you had the game right in front of you. You want to live in the now what? What's next? And what was next was your championship game. You didn't want to think about next year. But now we're a couple weeks removed. So what do you think about running this next year if there was an opportunity or something like this at the end of the season?
I think it was a very unique situation. I think it was a very good thing that the three names you mentioned, Brian Chapman, John Kroger, and Mike Murray, what they put together. I know they did a boatload of work. It was a lot of time, and it was a lot of people putting it together. I don't know what they'll do. If they do have the tournament next year, we'll certainly sign up and put our hat in the ring and see what happens.
Did I say Murphy? I meant Murray. Did I say Murphy?
Yeah, it's Mike Murray. I'm sorry.
I know. No. I said Murphy. I think I did.
That's all right.
So, Coach, real quick, jump into a little bit of your background, where you grew up, and other sports you like to play while you were growing up, and how you're enjoying your summer so far.
Sure. Yeah, I'm originally from Roselle Park, and I had the unique opportunity to grow up in a very close-knit town. Started with our superintendent, Mr. Ernie Finizio. He was very involved. He adopted a bunch of us as he treated them as their own kids. Very, very good to all of us, and he took us under his wing. And I was fortunate enough to have a lot of good teachers, a lot of good mentors, a lot of good coaches along the way. with my principals, Mr. Springer, Mr. Dragon. My football coach was very influential in my life, Mr. John Wagner. My high school baseball coach was Mr. Shaw. Fortunately enough, we were able to win a couple championships in football and baseball. And those are two sports that I played. And then, I went over to college. I went to Brookdale Community College, and I went to Villanova. And I was fortunate enough to be able to play a couple of years in the minor leagues with the Angels. And then I got into the education field when I got released. I've been with the Cranford Board of Education system since I was released as a professional baseball player. And I just finished my 21st year coaching here at Cranford. But I come from a product of a small town where we learned very quickly, and we learned one way, and that was to work hard, practice hard, respect your coaches. You went to every practice every day. The coaches made the decision. The parents followed the decision, and it was a situation where it was a mutual respect with the arts, the academics, and the athletics between the parents and the coaches. And I credit any type of success to a lot of people that came from Roselle Park, from being a product of the system and a product of a very small community where the teachers and the community really looked after you in Roselle Park. So I'm very fortunate to say that I'm from Roselle Park, and I'm very proud to say that.
My cousins are from Roselle Park, and forever, all they ever do is talk about, it just seems like when I meet people, my cousins and their friends from Roselle Park, sometimes it's some towns are just a different animal than other towns. As you're talking about, the closeness that they talk with me about how close everybody was in the high school and in the town. It just seems like a different animal over there. Well, when they were growing up.
At the Last Dance tournament, two of my best friends that I grew up, that were in the same class, went to the game. Another one of my teammates was at the game. Another close friend was there. My high school football coach was there, just at that one game. When the game was concluded, my high school superintendent, who was very influential in all of us from Roselle Park, texted me, and he's 88 years old, and he texted me and he called me to congratulate me. So you're right. It's a close-knit community. It's everybody has each other's back. It starts with loyalty. We look after each other, and that's the way it is to this day. I'm from Roselle Park. I'll always be from Roselle Park. I love it. I live in Cranford. I have my family in Cranford now, and I'm very happy to be working here in Cranford. And I give everything I can now to the town of Cranford, in the education and the athletics. But when you're from Roselle Park, there's a sense of pride. There's a sense of community that you have for the rest of your life.
As there should be, no matter where you're from, right? As the same athletes feel the same way in Cranford, especially now, from what they experienced with the Last Dance tournament. Favorite place to eat in Roselle Park?
Favorite place to eat in Roselle Park was the Sun Tavern with my mom and dad. That was my parents' favorite restaurant, and we would go there about once a week until my dad passed away 6 years ago. We'd go once a week, and it was probably my favorite thing to do, was have dinner with my mom and dad. And we would have it at the Sun Tavern in Roselle Park.
Isn't that right off the Parkway?
Yes, it is.
Right there? Yeah. Your favorite place to eat in Cranford?
Oof, I have to be careful.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't ask that question.
I like a lot of restaurants in Cranford, but I really don't eat in Cranford because, I like to, when I'm done working, I like to kind of be off the field, off the job. So, but there's a lot of good restaurants. I will say that Kilkenny's in town. They honored the team. They had us for a dinner. Barry O'Donovan, who's one of the most caring, thoughtful people in the Cranford community, treated the kids to a free dinner at his place. We're social distance apart, and he just goes out of his way to care for people in Cranford. There's another wonderful restaurant, Vinny's Italian restaurant in town, where Vinny is extremely giving to the town, very kind, and goes out of his way to support all the athletics. But Cranford's a wonderful town. It really is. I'm from Roselle Park, but I live in Cranford now, and I'm very locked into Cranford. I've worked here my whole life. It's a wonderful community. It's a supportive town. When we won that game, we returned. There was a police escort. 2 days later, there's thousands of people in the streets, and they're giving us a parade. Started by the mayor and the chief, and there's fire trucks, there's police cars, and there's people lined up for 1.5 miles, the entire length of the parade. There were people ringing their bells and waving to us, and treated the kids really well. So Cranford's a wonderful community, very supportive, and the kids are very fortunate to have the opportunity to live in this town.
Yeah, you had a lot of support at the games. The games I went to, that crowd was going the whole game. There were many teams like that, but yours in particular, I remember, you guys had a big following there. So that's always great to see. Moving on.
We have a big following. There's no capacity. Just going to say that at our home games, we get a lot of fans to come when there's no capacity as far as number of people that can be spectators. We're very fortunate in Cranford. Our athletics are very supportive, supported by the community. We have a couple fans, Mr. and Mrs. Hahn, who've been coming to my games since I've been a high school kid, and they still come to my games now. Miss Millar has come to all of our games for the last 20 years. I'll give you Mr. and Mrs. Hahn, live in the Cranford community, and Mr. Hahn actually adjusted his medical treatment when he was getting cancer treatment to come to the first opening game in 2016. And they actually drove back from the Jersey Shore just to make the parade when we had it that Sunday night. So a lot of support here in Cranford.
So what is one thing from a sportsmanship or from a sports atmosphere that everybody got out of this tournament, that people learn maybe from this tournament that you can take into the sports world?
Well, I hope the kids learn that you can't take anything for granted. One of the things that I've said to the kids is there's no such thing as the word tomorrow. And on March 12th, we had a practice. That was a Thursday. And we never saw the kids again. And one of the things I always say to kids is when they say to me, they say the word tomorrow, I'll say, there's no such thing as tomorrow. And I want kids to just know that you have to appreciate everything you have, that you have to take nothing for granted. And I think that can be a lesson that can be learned out of this tournament, is that we're very fortunate to be able to have a second chance, and that, we were able to compete, but it was for a bigger cause. It was for a cause that hopefully people realize that as important as baseball is, it's probably more important each day to just go out and be a good person, play hard, be respectful, be kind, and go out of your way to help others. And that's the only reason why this tournament happened. It happened because John Kroger, Brian Chapman, and Mike Murray went out of their way to try and do something for others. They designed the tournament, and they were able to put together over 330 games with 228 teams. And they did it out of the goodness of their heart. And hopefully people will see that you can't take anything for granted, and that three people went out of their way to really do something in a selfless way to help others.
Right. You could, as you just said, you could sum up teamwork in 3 words. It's about others. Right. And you said not to take it for granted. When you go to school, you have to go to school, or you have to get homeschooled. You have to have some kind of schooling. And I tell athletes, there's one thing you don't have to do. You don't have to play sports. You don't have to train. This is not a have to. It's a get to. You get to do this. And some athletes, as you're saying, maybe sometimes they take things for granted after a few practices, and they're dragging through the practices, and sometimes they feel like giving up and they don't want to be there. And as you're saying, remember, this is because when it's over, it's over. And for a lot of athletes, it's over now. And you're not getting anything back. And it seems like athletes took more advantage of this season. From what I've seen, I've watched sports for a long time. I've seen athletes take more advantage of the 3 games they had than most of the games they get in a regular season. This year, the excitement they had from pitch to pitch, and it was just a different excitement from the athletes this year.
I think people appreciated being outside. I think they appreciated having the opportunity to watch a baseball game. And I think the kids really had a lot of enthusiasm. I think they really realized the value of every pitch, of every inning, of every game, because they lost it. They lost it for 3.5 months, and they didn't think they're ever getting it back. They didn't think they're ever going to be able to put on the same uniform one last time. And unfortunately, like you mentioned, there is a time where someone tells you you're not good enough. And for most of us, unless you're Derek Jeter or one of those type of players, you don't end on your own time schedule and your own desired time schedule. Somebody else tells you, or the game tells you, you're not good enough. And these kids were very, very fortunate to be able to have a chance to play one more game together. And then Cranford, we were very fortunate to be able to win that last game, which is a very unique and very difficult thing to do, is to win the last game of any type of season and winning a championship.
So, Coach, we got a couple more minutes here. So, real quick, so let me throw that on you. How did you feel when you were told you can't play anymore? That was it, or how did you know it was it? How did you handle that?
I was bummed for the kids because, as I tell kids every year, there's a good shot I can come back next year and do this again as a coach. But as a player, you only get so many amount of at-bats, you only get so many amount of innings, and then you're done playing. And then you can go on and coach, and coaching is a lot different than playing. So when I heard that these seniors, and we have a senior class that's probably like most senior classes, but our senior class was a lot of kids, and they're very close. They genuinely like each other, and they've had a lot of success for their entire life. But they were told they couldn't do it. I know the kids were very disappointed. I know the parents were very disappointed. And I know the community was very disappointed. I was bummed for the kids. I really was. I was bummed because, you spend your whole life playing Cranford baseball. You have your last chance to put the uniform on. And then on March 12th, you're told that's it. There's no more season. So, a credit to our kids, though. They worked very hard. March 13th on, I don't think many of our kids took a day off. I really don't. I don't think from March 13th till July 13th, I would challenge any team in the state of New Jersey that they probably didn't work hard than our kids. And that's what I tell all the Little League kids in Cranford. The difference between Cranford kids and other teams is Cranford kids work extremely hard. They lift, they run, they hit on their own. And I know that they were practicing. I know that they were doing what they needed to do to stay sharp. And it's a credit to them. And, fortunately this year, their hard work paid off. And they were able to win that last game.
I'm sure there's other athletes, as you're speaking from Cranford. I'm sure there's other athletes in the state who didn't take time off either, but I know a lot of athletes that did, right? And you guys kind of stuck with the old saying, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And when it was time to get ready, you're saying your athletes were ready. Your athletes stayed ready just in case you never know. And I use this tournament as an example for athletes whose future season right now, whether it be football or basketball or cross country, might be in question. They're still trying to figure it out. Or are you staying ready? You never know. Maybe somebody else will come up with a last dance, tournament somewhere throughout the season if it doesn't happen. Now, I know Murphy is talking about where he wants to have outdoor sports, and everybody, if they have to, then everybody has to wear a mask because, it's not like playing in a stadium, right? Maybe football might be a little different, but even so, football's packed. A lot of football fields are packed. So he's talking about wearing masks and things like that. You have an opinion on that moving forward for fall sports?
I hope with, the opportunity that they can play that it does happen. Obviously, we have to worry about the safety of people first. I know some people don't want to hear that, but I think life is more important than athletics. I really do. And if we can play it, I hope that we play, and I hope that no student athlete loses any type of season. And if we can take the safety protocols and do what we need to do to have kids compete, that's great stuff. And Governor Murphy, I think, has done everything and anything he could do to allow that to happen. He was very friendly. He was a delight to meet at the game, and he's gone out of his way to support the Last Dance tournament.
Yes, yeah.
He was a true gentleman dealing with them. And I think that he's going to continue to do what's best for New Jersey. And I think he's going to continue to do what's right for the safety of our student athletes. And that is the most important thing. I come from an athletic background, but again, as a educator, you have to think of student safety first. And, if we can do any type of sports with the safety in mind and the kids are not at risk, let's play ball and let's compete. And, one of the things you said, as far as staying ready is one of the things we say in Cranford is there's no days off. There are no days off. And I got to credit our kids that I think that they took that mindset and they were able to stay sharp.
And we're talking about fall sports, but I don't think many athletes realize that the Last Dance baseball tournament was almost like an example of how safe things could be, right? Especially for fall sports. Who knows, maybe if this tournament doesn't happen, maybe the consideration of having fall sports doesn't happen until October, right? Doesn't happen until later on, where the Last Dance tournament showed that it can be safe. And it could have been more of a starter for other sports, as it showed to Murphy. Murphy was a huge, with Murray, Kroger, and Chapman putting it together, it really helped out other sports in the fall. So now this was an example that Murphy can now move forward and use these safety precautions that seem to work. I mean, and it was smooth getting into the games. It was, to me, getting into the games with the safety precautions was, nothing's perfect. So it was almost perfect. They did a great job with it.
I agree. And, and Governor Murphy was nice enough to come to the final game, and he spent time with both teams. And I know that he's going to do what he needs to do to protect the state of New Jersey and, everybody involved in high school athletics. So, as long as that's the objective, and I know that that's what we're looking to do here, is just protect the student athletes. We look forward to hopefully fall sports.
Well, it's been great having all the coaches on here at the Last Dance Baseball Tournament. Here at All Out Athletes, we say there's only one thing. Every time you get onto the field, anytime you get onto a court, in a pool, on a wrestling mat, in a skating rink, you have one choice to make. And that's either you hold back or you go all out. And there is no neutral. If you're standing still, other athletes are passing you by. And I can honestly say is that every coach that I had on here is an all-out coach. From what I've learned from all the coaches, the amount of time that you guys spend preparing and just being told, I tell athletes, no coach wants an athlete that's not into it. But yet you want into it coaches, right? Nobody cares how you feel in the moment. They just want you to go all out. And that's what we're here all about. And it's great having all the coaches on, all the all-out coaches that we've had on the podcast. And especially to be here to talk with Dennis McCaffrey as, you guys scored 34 runs in 18 innings. And as you said, that comes from being ready. It didn't seem like the tournament just sprung on you guys. When you guys went up the bat, it was like you already done it at 20. It looked like you guys already had a regular season when you guys are up at bat. And you do have some good ball players. But even so, you can't just sit. You have to be ready. How do you get good? You stay ready. And you don't have to get ready. And that's what it looked like every game I watch your team play.
Thank you.
It was great having you on, Dennis. Any last words for the last podcast, for the Last Dance Tournament before we bring it home?
Well, thank you very much for having me, and thank you for covering Cranford and all the coverage you did for the Last Dance Tournament. And, your enthusiasm, your passion for sports, your mindset is very encouraging to coaches like myself, and I'm sure a lot of other coaches. So we appreciate what you're doing. Don't change and never lose your passion.
Thanks a lot. And it's about surrounding yourself with people like that, because if we spend time not around people, see, you have a purpose, right? Your purpose is make those athletes better. And that's where passion comes from. I think people lose their passion when they lose their purpose. And when you surround yourself with people, with coaches like yourself, and you're surrounded with passionate people, it's hard not to be that way, right? And you really got to give thanks to all the people around you to keep you moving and keep you moving forward. So I thank all the coaches for coming on. And one last thing, athletes, once again, whenever the coach wants you to do something and you want to accept feedback and put it into action immediately, first, you got to be all in order to go all out. Coach, thanks for coming on. And everybody, enjoy the rest of your summer. And, Coach, we'll probably have you on next year before the baseball season starts, especially if the fall sports is going to go. Hopefully everything will be great. And we'd love to have you back for the start of next season.
That sounds great. Thank you very much for having us, and happy times and good summer to you and your family.
All right. Thanks a lot. We'll see everybody next year for the baseball season, and we'll be back for football. I'll probably grab your football coach and we'll do some football. We got cross country, we got tennis and soccer. We got fall sports coming up. So we'll be back with other podcasts, and we'll see everybody next time on the All Out Athletes podcast. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach D here. Congratulations to you, Coach Dennis McCaffrey, and all the athletes and the whole Cranford High School for winning the Last Dance Baseball Tournament. There's only one, and you guys did it. Congratulations. And a special thank you to Mike Murray, John Kroger, and Brian Chapman. I hope you guys have realized what you've done, because for many of us, our mental state was all over the place. Nobody knew what was going to happen next. And in the middle of crisis, you three guys created an opportunity for athletes to bring back passion in the game so they could have one last year with their coach, with their teammates. It's a special relationship in sports that athletes have with each other and that athletes have with their coach. And you guys were able to make that happen one more time for the seniors. And many of us who know people who died from the virus, and many of us were going through a tough time. And you guys created that opportunity to get us out of our victim mentality and to get out of the house and to get outside of ourselves, to root for others, to bring all of us together in this great sport that we have called baseball. Thank you, Mike Murray, John Kroger, and Brian Chapman, for what you've done for all of us. So, once again, thank you, Coach McCaffrey, and thank you to all the coaches for coming on the Last Dance Baseball podcast. Everybody, there's opportunity when there's a crisis, and you three guys provided that for all of us. Thank you once again. You're either hunting for the best or you're being hunted by the best. But why would you go hunting? What are you hunting for? You're hunting for those skills you don't have, so you have a better chance to beat the best. But if you're not hungry, you have no reason to go hunting. You're not going to put your full energy and effort into everything you do. Why would you do that if you have no hunger? You don't hate losing enough. You have to hate losing more than you love winning. Or do you sit back and go, oh, we won, we're okay? The best is hungry. And if you don't want to be at your best, then don't get upset when you get eaten up by the best.